So, let's kick things off by diving into blood magic, specifically menstrual blood magic. First off, let me just say I'm no spiritual expert, so everything I'm about to share is pieced together from various sources and good old word of mouth. That means there's gonna be different versions of these stories floating around. If you've got any corrections or insights, feel free to drop them in the comments. Now, back to the menstrual blood charm. Just like the name suggests, it's basically made using menstrual blood, from a woman's period. Because of that, it's also sometimes called a dirty charm. This type of charm is often used to make a man completely obsessed with a woman, like head over heels, can't live without her obsessed. It's supposed to make the guy emotionally, mentally, and physically dependent, so he's constantly thinking about the woman who cast the spell. That's why you often see this charm being used by mistresses trying to snag someone else's husband, or even by wives who want to keep their husbands in line and stop them from straying. I've even heard stories about restaurants and cafes back in the day grinding up this charm and slipping it into the food or drinks to get customers hooked and keep them coming back. Now, I'm not saying all old-school restaurants and cafes did this, just some of them, supposedly. They supposedly used this charm to keep customers loyal and make them crave their food or drinks, kinda like a drug. I don't know if any of that is actually true, but imagine finding out your meal or coffee was secretly spiked with period blood that had been turned into a magic charm. Pretty hard to swallow, right? So, the blood, usually from the first or last day of the menstrual cycle, is collected on a sanitary pad. Then, the pad is dried in the sun while the person casting the spell recites incantations or something like that, maybe whispers the guy's personal info and their feelings. Once it's dry, they get rid of the extra bits of the pad and just use the core part in the middle. They grind that up into a powder and mix it into the guy's food or drinks, just a little bit at a time, until the whole charm is used up. I've also read about other methods, like burying it under a tree, mixing it with the victim's hair or fingernails, or holding the blood-soaked pad under a full moon and chanting spells in front of 3 candles. Basically, there are lots of ways to do it, but the main thing is that the person casting this kind of spell is supposed to face some pretty serious consequences. The most obvious one is just being plain gross. Seriously, anyone who uses this charm gets major demerits in the class department. According to some sources, they're also supposed to experience bad luck, health problems, especially with their reproductive system, and sadly, the woman using this charm on a man will never experience true love. Being controlling and selfish can lead to some pretty obvious consequences. If a mistress is trying to steal someone's husband with this charm, it's gonna tear that family apart, no question. On the flip side, if a wife uses it to control her husband, he's gonna be so obsessed with her that he loses his connection to his friends and family, which can mess with his career opportunities. Honestly, whether it's a menstrual blood charm or any other type of magic, the best way to deal with it is to find someone who knows their stuff to help break the spell. The signs of being under a spell are usually pretty obvious, so I won't go into that. Moving on with our theme of love and relationships, let's talk about Miao love magic. This charm comes from the Miao tribes in southwestern China. The effect is the same as the blood magic charm. It makes the victim fall madly in love and become completely obsessed. But the way this charm is made is a bit more complicated. It involves raising poisonous insects, like putting scorpions and spiders in a sealed jar and letting them fight to the death. The last one alive becomes the charm. The person casting the spell then puts it in the victim's food or drink. If the charm backfires, the spellcaster can die in agony. The victim also experiences bad luck, loses control of their mind, and becomes weak. There's an old story from Guizhou, China, about a girl named Meiling. Her family promised her to a rich guy, but Meiling was in love with a younger guy named Chen. Chen didn't want Meiling to marry the rich guy, so he went to a local shaman and asked for a love charm. Chen put the charm in Meiling's food, and it made her love him even more. But a few months after they got married, Meiling got really weak. She was always crying for no reason and eventually went insane. Chen was terrified, so he went back to the shaman, who told him that the charm had backfired. Eventually, Meiling died in agony, and Chen was so haunted by it that he followed her soon after. People say that you can still hear crying in the house where they lived every night. And speaking of raising venomous creatures, let's move on to the Gu charm. The Gu charm I'm about to talk about is mainly used to bring wealth and career advancement. But since the business world can be a dog-eat-dog world, some people use it to take down their competitors to get an edge. This charm is made from poisonous insects that are made to devour each other in a sealed container. Usually, there are 12 different creatures: snakes, centipedes, scorpions, frogs, eels, earthworms, caterpillars, beetles, spiders, leeches, and lice. These 12 creatures are put in a jar, and a battle royale begins. The only one that survives becomes the goo worm. The goo is often created on the Dragon Boat Festival because the poisonous energy is at its strongest. The owner has to worship it carefully and keep it a secret. If the secret gets out, the goo worm will turn on them and cause a disaster that wipes out their whole family. There's a pretty wild story about this type of charm. So there's Wang Han, who's losing money in his business, and Lu Xianqing, who's doing really well. Years ago, Wang Han's father helped Lu Xianqing out, so they're friends. Wang Han, who is drowning in debt and losing his business, asks Lu Xianqing for help. At first, Lu Xianqing says no, but then he remembers how Wang Han's father helped him out, so he tells Wang Han how to make a goo charm. He tells Wang Han to catch a bunch of poisonous insects, put them in a jar, and let them fight. The one that survives will be the most vicious and poisonous. Lu Xianqing then tells Wang Han to feed the worm poisonous herbs and drip a drop of his own blood into the jar every day for 49 days. After 49 days, the worm will die. Lu Xianqing tells Wang Han to put its body in an incense burner and worship it in front of his ancestors. If it glows green one night, it's a success. After that fateful night, Wang Han can hear the goo worm's voice, and it helps him with his business. The goo worm tells Wang Han to offer it 2 chicken eggs every day. Wang Han does as he's told, but when he goes to take the eggs away, they haven't been cracked open, but the yolks and whites are gone. Over the next few months, Wang Han's business really takes off. Everything goes smoothly. Then the goo worm tells Wang Han to start offering it 2 live chickens every day. Wang Han does that too, but when he goes to clean up, he only finds 2 piles of feathers. A year later, Wang Han becomes rich. Then, the goo worm demands that he build it a huge temple with lights and candles that are always burning and incense that's always smoking. It's expensive, but Wang Han does it anyway. Half a year later, the goo worm demands that Wang Han bring it children to eat because it's tired of chicken. Wang Han refuses, of course. The goo worm says that if he doesn't give it children, it will eat Wang Han's daughter. Wang Han is terrified. He realizes how dangerous the worm is. He grabs the incense burner with the worm's body and throws it in the river. But when he gets home, the incense burner is still on the altar and the worm's body is still inside. Wang Han is so scared that he lights the burner on fire, but the wood burns out and the burner and worm's body are still untouched. The goo worm appears in Wang Han's mind and says, "I helped you get rich, and now you won't do what I want. Do you want to die?" Even though he's greedy, Wang Han doesn't want to hurt anyone, so he begs the goo worm to give him a few days to think about it. The goo worm gives Wang Han 3 days. If he doesn't bring it a child in 3 days, it will eat his whole family. Wang Han knows he's in deep trouble, so he goes to Lu Xianqing for help. When he gets there, he's shocked to see that Lu Xianqing is blind and his face is disfigured. He finds out that it's the result of making the goo worm. Lu Xianqing tells Wang Han to take the incense burner with the goo worm to the city god temple and get rid of the evil. Then, he should bury the incense burner behind the temple. The goo worm will disappear after 49 days because it's not being worshipped. But at the same time, the bad luck will come back to Wang Han. Plus, he'll have to deal with the consequences of his actions. As a result, Wang Han's business fails, and he loses all his money. Soon after, he gets a strange disease that makes him unable to move his arms and legs. He just lies there like a vegetable. So, those are all the charms I know about. Besides the really famous ones, like the Spirit Child and Kumanthong. Even though there's no scientific basis for them, it's pretty clear that if you use magic to take advantage of people, you're gonna face some consequences. If you think this cat is cute, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe.